You ever hear a story so dumb you start checking your own safety habits? Yeah, these are those stories. 33 moments where confidence met reality and reality didn't blink. Sit back, hit subscribe, and try not to recognize yourself in any of them. Number 1. Meet Dave, self-taught electrician, full-time bad idea generator. The porch light went out and Dave refused to pay $80 for a simple fix. "It's just a bulb," he said, which in every story like this is the setup. It's raining. The ladder's metal. He's wearing socks. Perfect conditions for a Darwin nomination. Beer in one hand, screwdriver in the other. Dave climbs up while his wife calls, "Don't touch that wire!" He grins. "Relax! I watched a tutorial!" 10 seconds later, a pop, a flash, and quiet. The light stopped flickering. So did Dave. Number 2. Lauren wanted the sunrise shot, the one that makes followers comment fire emojis. She started before dawn, sneakers slick with dew, camera bag bouncing on her shoulder. "Don't go near the edge," her friend warned. "I won't." "Just one clean frame," she said, stepping backward for perfection. The camera beeped. 3, 2, 1. Her foot slipped on moss, arms flailing against a perfect pink sky. The tripod hit first, then silence. When rescuers came, her camera was still recording. The last photo, pure gold light over the ridge. The ranger scrolling through it said quietly, "She really did get the sunrise." Number 3, Marcus lived for going live. Cooking, pranks, car repairs. If it didn't have viewers, it didn't happen. So when he decided to tune up his car in the garage, he hit Go Live. "Close the door," someone typed. "Just 5 minutes!" Marcus laughed, waving off fumes like confetti. Half an hour later, the chat turned frantic. "Open it, open it, open it!" Marcus blinked at the comments, smirking. "Hold on, almost done," he said. And then the stream cut to static. The clip stayed up a full day before being deleted. It's still passed around as the worst tutorial ever made. Number 4. 2 teens wanted fame fast. Climb the old water tower, post the view, chase the algorithm. The metal staircase moaned under them, flakes of rust snowing onto concrete. "Almost there," one said, flashlight shaking. "This thing's moving," the other joked, laughter trying to sound brave. At the top, the wind sliced through their words. A railing bent under a careless lean. The tower answered with a hollow, ringing note. The phone caught sky, then gravel, then nothing. Somewhere down below, notifications kept coming in. Number 5. Ricky called it lake surfing. 1 raft, 1 speedboat, 1 brain cell. "Crank it up," he yelled. The driver did. Halfway across, the raft hit a floating log. Nature's quiet reminder. The rope snapped. The lake swallowed sound. The driver circled twice, shouting his name. Only ripples answered, spreading out slow, calm, endless. The same way the water always looks after someone thinks they're invincible. Number 6. A couple camping near Pine Canyon ignored every wildfire sign. "It's contained," he said, crouched over a lighter. "We'll keep it small." Dry pine needles curled under the first flicker like they'd been waiting for it. The air shifted. The fire caught a breeze. 1 spark leapt into the grass, then 10, then 100. The woman screamed for water. The man kicked dirt, hands shaking. The fire didn't care whose idea it was. It just kept going uphill. Number 7, Andrea wanted cinematic train footage for her vlog. The bridge looked abandoned. The tracks rusted like history. "See? No trains in years," she told the camera, smiling. Then the steel beneath her shoes began to hum. Soft, rhythmic, wrong. A horn answered from the distance. The sound rolled up the valley like thunder. She turned around slow, eyes wide, wind tugging at her hair. The camera caught 1 last second of sunlight before the lens filled with shadow. Number 8. Nate was the neighborhood fixer. Roof leaks, fences, antennas. You name it. That evening, he climbed onto his 2-story roof to save money on a pro. No harness, no spotter, just sneakers and optimism. "Wind's picking up," shouted the neighbor. "I'm fine," Nate called back, waving. He reached for the antenna, slipped on loose gravel, and the ladder below tipped. It hit the siding once, bounced, and fell flat on the lawn. The house kept its signal that night. Nobody else did. Number 9. They were geology majors with more confidence than experience. 4 friends chasing a rumor about an untouched limestone chamber just outside town. It wasn't on any campus map, which made it perfect. One of them, Evan, carried a magnesium flare he'd borrowed from the lab. "For lighting," he said, grinning. "Phones don't do justice underground." They parked where the road dissolved into gravel, hiked a half-mile through wet grass, and found the mouth of the cave, an oval cut into stone, cool air breathing out of it like a secret. "This is it," said Mia, clicking on her headlamp. The beam caught drifting dust and water droplets that looked like falling stars. Inside, the walls glittered with mineral veins. Someone whistled. The echo came back bigger. "Okay, this is insane," Evan said. He cracked the flare, and a searing white light bloomed in his hand. Shadows leapt backward. The cave transformed. Colors no one knew existed in rock, ripples of green and silver, crystals blinking awake after centuries in the dark. Phones came out, videos rolled. "Bro, this looks like another planet," one laughed. Their voices bounced around until there were too many of them. Echoes piling on echoes until nobody could tell who'd spoken last. Then the air shifted. A low hiss joined the soundscape, subtle at first, then hungry. The flare burned hotter, its core so bright they couldn't look directly at it. "How long do these last?" Mia asked, wiping sweat from her forehead. Nobody answered. Every breath came shorter than the one before. Evan crouched near the pool of light. "It's fine. It just needs oxygen." "Exactly," someone muttered. "And so do we." The flare roared, spitting sparks. A thin white smoke crawled across the floor, thick enough to hide their boots. Coughs replaced laughter. One phone clattered against stone, the screen lighting the haze in a pale, useless blue. "Drop it, it's too hot!" Mia shouted. Evan's hand shook. The flare slipped from his fingers, hit the ground, and stuck there, molten metal hissing against damp limestone. They backed away, eyes watering, lungs refusing to cooperate. The last footage recovered from a phone showed a single bright point, surrounded by 4 shadows, fading into fog. The timestamp stopped at 2:47 a.m. Weeks later, the rescue team found the chamber unchanged. The flare had melted into the rock, still dull white, still warm. It looked like a tiny sun that had forgotten how to die. Quiet, steady, indifferent. Number 10. Jack loved rough sailing weather. Said calm water was for tourists. His wife begged him to wait one more day, but he waved her off. "Storm's almost over," he said, untying the ropes. Half a mile from shore, wind tore the mainsail sideways. Rain hit sideways, too. "Reef it!" someone yelled. Jack laughed, eyes squinting through salt and spray. "It's fine." Then the boom swung across like a steel hammer, and the boat tilted so hard it showed its belly to the sea. The waves rolled back over like nothing had ever been there at all. Number 11. Tina ran a candle shop out of her garage. Small batch, hand-poured, aromatherapy for the soul. She also smoked while she worked. "You can't mix fire and wax," her sister warned. "Please," Tina laughed. "I am fire and wax." One dropped ash landed in a tray of fresh wicks. The flames caught slow and pretty, then hungry. When firefighters arrived, the whole block smelled like lavender and melted ambition. Number 12. 3 thrill seekers decided a rooftop pool party wasn't enough. They wanted the edge shot, feet hanging over the skyline, glass edge behind them, city glowing below. "Lean back more," the photographer called. The girl on the ledge laughed, adjusting her grip on his hand. Wind kicked up from nowhere, pushing at their clothes, hair, balance. The camera clicked once, then twice. It fell before they did. catching one blurred streak of sky. Number 13. Eddie was the type who bragged about knowing cars. When his radiator started steaming, he popped the hood right there at a rest stop. His buddy said, "Don't open that cap, man." "It's boiling," Eddie smirked. "I'll just crack it a little." The hiss sounded like a snake striking. Steam blasted upward, and Eddie staggered back, blinded by his own confidence. They said he was still holding the wrench when help arrived, grip locked tight, like he didn't want to let go of being right. Number 14. Gary swore he could fix anything mechanical. His garage looked like a museum of almost repaired projects. Engines, drills, half a motorcycle that hadn't run since the 4th of July. One cold Saturday, he decided to clean his old propane heater before winter. "Just a little dust," he muttered, dragging it onto the workbench. He ignored the faint hiss that meant the valve wasn't fully closed. His buddy stopped by for a beer. "Smells like gas in here." Gary waved it off. "Old machine. Leaks a little." He flicked his lighter for a smoke, forgetting it was still in his hand when the spark jumped. For a heartbeat, the flame floated blue, almost elegant. Gary's eyes widened, realization flickering behind the reflection of that small, hungry light. The camera from his shop's security system showed nothing after that, just static and the sound of the wind through an open door. Number 15. Stacy hated cold weather but loved her treadmill's view of the snowy street outside. Every morning she'd run, phone balanced on the console, earbuds blasting true crime podcasts. That morning the power flickered. She glanced at the ceiling fan, wobbling above, then at the frozen screen of her phone. "Come on!" she sighed, jabbing the treadmill buttons. The motor rebooted on a surge, belt jerking faster than before. Her coffee mug tipped, rolled, splashed near the cord. She reached for the plug just as another brownout dimmed the lights. From across the street, a neighbor saw a quick flash through the window. Then nothing but the treadmill still whirring, belt running empty, a song playing to an empty room. Number 16. Three friends went night fishing in an old aluminum boat, convinced that calm water meant safe water. They packed beer, a single lantern, and exactly 0 life jackets. "Don't need 'em," said Luke, the oldest. "We're not swimming." Fog crawled across the lake halfway through the trip. Their laughter echoed strange. Too close, then too far. "Which way's the dock?" someone asked. Luke pointed at a shape in the mist. "That way? See the light?" They paddled toward it, oars bumping softly against unseen things. The light grew brighter, pulsing, rhythmic, until it wasn't the dock at all, but the bow light of a barge sliding silently through fog. The lantern in their boat flickered once, reflecting off metal, then went out. Number 17. Monica was a new pilot with exactly 40 hours in the air and an ego that weighed more than her plane. Her instructor told her, "If you see storm cells, land." Always, she nodded, smiled, and ignored him the very next weekend. Clouds piled ahead like dark cliffs. The radio crackled with warnings. She switched frequencies, muttering, "I got this!" Lightning strobed across the windshield. She gripped the yoke tighter, pretending it was steady hands, not fear. The altimeter spun. The wings shuddered. Rain hammered the canopy like gravel. At 5,000 feet, one final bolt lit the cockpit white, outlining her face in absolute clarity. Then the radio went silent. Number 18. Eli managed the night shift at a roadside motel that mostly hosted truckers and ghosts of tourists. Quiet work until the vending machine jammed. He banged on the glass, muttering, "You take my dollar, I take my chips." Behind him, the security camera blinked red, catching every move. He kicked the machine once, twice. The third kick tipped it forward a little. Coins jingled inside like encouragement. "Come on," he said, grinning, bracing both hands on the top, as if he could shake it into fairness. The hinge groaned. The weight shifted. For one stretched-out instant, he froze, realizing the machine was bigger than he thought, heavier than he could stop. The footage ends mid-frame. Eli's reflection, the falling shadow, and a bag of chips dangling 1 inch from release. Number 19. Cliff loved fireworks more than holidays. Their chemistry with attitude, he'd say, stacking boxes in his garage like trophies. He wasn't reckless, just overly confident, the kind of man who read warning labels as dares. That summer, his small town canceled its show because of dry weather. Cliff decided the neighborhood needed a little morale boost. He built a makeshift launch stand out of PVC pipe, duct tape, and misplaced trust. His wife called through the door. "Maybe wait for the wind to die down," he smirked, lighting the first fuse. "Wind's part of the show!" The first rocket screamed straight up, then tipped sideways. "Uh-oh," someone said from the driveway. The sky filled with sparks that weren't supposed to be horizontal. Cliff dropped the lighter, turned toward the house, and the next rocket whistled lower than anyone expected. Number 20. Jenna worked night shifts at a roadside diner off Route 17, a fluorescent oasis for tired truckers and teenagers. The coffee machine was her closest friend. At 2 a.m., a regular leaned over the counter. "Storm's bad out there. You sure it's safe to keep the sign lit?" She glanced at the old neon flickering outside. "If that thing survives one more night, it's earned it." Lightning stitched across the desert sky. The wind howled like it had somewhere to be. Inside, ketchup bottles rattled on the counter. Jenna laughed nervously, wiping a mug. "I swear, one day that sign's gonna—" A flash, a crack that shook the dishes. The lights blinked off, then on, then off again. For a few seconds, the only glow came from the still buzzing sign outside, pulsing red through the rain-streaked window. Then it sputtered, hissed, and went dark. Number 21. Owen restored classic cars in his barn, slow, patient work that smelled like oil and nostalgia. One evening, he decided to start the old Mustang he'd been rebuilding for months. He loved that moment, ignition catching, engine waking after years of silence. "Come on, baby," he said, twisting the key. The starter coughed. He leaned closer to listen. A faint pop, a whiff of gasoline. Nothing serious, he thought. He reached under the hood with a flashlight, tapping the fuel line. The flashlight beam flickered, batteries dying. He shook it, sighed, and set it on the edge of the fender. The bulb rolled, fell, cracked. Sparks met fumes. For an instant, the whole barn glowed gold, and every chrome surface reflected Owen's surprised face. Number 22. Kara and Ben filmed a ghost hunt in an abandoned hospital outside town. They weren't believers, just chasing clicks. Their gear was cheap, their courage cheaper. "This place is totally dead," Ben joked, shining his light down a hallway. Somewhere deep inside, a door creaked open. "That you?" Kara whispered. "Probably wind." They followed the sound, voices low, hearts racing. The basement air grew heavy, their footsteps softening under layers of dust. "EMF's going crazy," Ben said, grinning for the camera. Then the battery light blinked red. The screen went black, but the audio kept rolling. Footsteps, breathing, and one metallic crash like a door slamming shut from the inside. Number 23. Leo was a construction foreman with a reputation for cutting corners. Schedules mattered, safety meetings didn't. "We're building, not babysitting," he'd say. That Friday, the crew packed up early for a holiday weekend. Leo stayed behind to lock up. He walked the scaffolding one last time, clipboard in hand, sunset glaring off the steel beams. Below him, a forklift idled, or forgotten keys still in the ignition. He tapped a loose bracket with his boot, muttering, "Fix that Monday!" A gust of wind caught the tarp overhead, ballooning it like a sail. The scaffolding swayed. The clipboard slipped from his fingers, papers fluttering down like white birds. Leo reached for them. Just instinct. Nothing heroic. Just habit. The wind roared again, and the structure answered with a deep, metallic groan that drowned everything else. Number 24. Tessa loved storms the way other people loved campfires. She'd sit on her porch and film lightning for her Weather Channel, proudly calling herself a storm chaser from the safety of home. That afternoon, the radar flashed red, but she smiled. "Perfect," she said, setting up the tripod. Wind tore through the oaks, rain slanting sideways. The camera lens fogged. She wiped it with her sleeve and zoomed in on a purple cloud curling like smoke. Her phone buzzed. "Tornado warning. Seek shelter immediately." Tessa laughed softly. "Shelter's overrated." The sky flashed white. A hum filled the air, deep and electric, like the world inhaling. Her hair lifted off her shoulders as the screen caught one last frozen frame of her smiling into the wind. Number 25. Martin owned a tiny air conditioning company and bragged that he could fix anything without shutting off the main breaker. "Time is money," he'd say, twisting wires with bare fingers. On a humid July morning, he climbed into an attic where the air felt like soup. "5 minutes and we're good," he told his assistant below. Sweat dripped from his wrist onto the circuit panel. He blinked, squinting at the tiny screws that never seemed to line up. "Power's still live, right?" his assistant called. Martin grinned. "Only if I'm unlucky." He turned the screwdriver. The light bulb above flickered once, then flared bright enough to wash the rafters white. Outside, the assistant looked up, confused by the sudden, perfect silence. Number 26. 4 friends decided to camp beside an abandoned amusement park. They wanted creepy footage for Halloween uploads. The park's Ferris wheel stood against the sky like a skeleton. "We should climb it," someone said, half joking. Of course, they didn't stop at joking. They reached the second tier, metal cold and slick with dew. "Dude, look at this view," one called, voice shaking between thrill and fear. The wheel moaned in the wind, a sound like something remembering how to move. A rivet popped, echoing like a gunshot. "Time to head down," the first one said. Nobody moved. Then the entire structure shuddered once, the ladder tilting 5 degrees closer to the dark. Number 27. Hank drove freight across the plains. 15-hour shifts, 3 thermoses of coffee, and playlists that kept him awake through entire states. He told himself he'd pull over after this song. Past midnight, the road blurred into a silver ribbon. A coyote darted across the headlights. Hank blinked hard, rubbing his eyes. His truck drifted right, tires humming on the rumble strip. He straightened, heart pounding, laughing at himself. "Still got it," he muttered. The next curve came faster than expected. Dashboard lights glowed red, half a second too late. The coffee mug slid off the console, slow as a dream, and gravity leaned in to take the wheel. Number 28. Nora managed maintenance for a high-rise downtown. Elevators, wiring, sprinklers. Her building never slept, and neither did she. One night, the fire alarm tripped on the 22nd floor. She rode up alone, tool belt clinking, muttering, "Probably another sensor glitch." When the doors opened, smoke curled lazily into the hallway. She frowned, checking the panel on the wall. "False reading again," she said, prying the cover loose. The heat behind it pulsed like a heartbeat. She stepped back, brow furrowed. "That's new." The lights flickered, and from somewhere in the ductwork came a sound like a sigh turning into a roar. The elevator doors behind her started to close. She turned, hand half raised, caught between staying and running, as the floor exhaled one long, blistering breath. Number 29. Cal was a small-town daredevil who swore the quarry cliff was basically made for swimming. Every summer he jumped from higher ledges, each one a notch in his ego. "This year's the record," he told his friends, pointing to the ridge 20 feet above the posted warning sign. The water below looked still, but it was colder than it seemed and shallower than he thought. He paced backward for a running start. Someone shouted, "Wait! Rocks moved after last rain!" Cal laughed, sprinting toward the edge. For a split second, he looked weightless against the sun, arms out, grin wide. Then the world dropped out from under him, and the splash came later than anyone expected. Number 30. Maria delivered pizzas in a city that never quite slept. One icy night, she took the shortcut under the river bridge, 3 minutes faster, 3 times riskier. The road shimmered under sodium lights, slick as glass. She leaned into the turn, one hand on the wheel, the other bracing a box she swore she wouldn't drop. Ahead, a pickup had stopped sideways across the lane. She hit the brakes. Tires hissed, steering wheel trembling, phone sliding off the dash. Her breath caught. The headlights painted the guardrail bright white. And the whole scene froze in the reflection of her wide eyes before the camera feed from her dash cam went black. Number 31. Victor managed a tiny radio tower out in the desert. Night after night, he climbed the ladder to check transmitters, carrying a flashlight that buzzed louder than the crickets. The wind up there never really stopped. It just waited. At 1 a.m., he called down to the intern below. "Signal's clear. One more check and we're golden." The intern looked up, a moving dot against stars. "Copy that!" Victor reached the top platform, leaned into the gust to tighten one last bolt. Metal groaned, cables hummed like guitar strings pulled too tight. He looked down, one hand gripping steel, and saw the ladder sway away from the tower. "Hey!" he started to shout, but the wind took the rest. Number 32. A documentary crew filmed a Lost Town special in an abandoned mine. They'd rehearsed the route twice, mapped every tunnel. But when the lights dimmed for dramatic effect, they forgot which path led out. "Keep rolling," the director whispered. "We'll splice it later." They walked deeper, camera light bouncing off glittering quartz. The sound guy stopped. "Hear that?" "Wind," someone answered. Only wind doesn't echo footsteps. The boom mic swung toward the darkness, catching a single breath that didn't belong to any of them. The camera tilted, light flaring across dust, and the frame froze on their shadows, stretching the wrong direction. Number 33. Erin was the ranger who closed the trail at dusk. Every evening she'd walk the ridge one last time, picking up bottles and candy wrappers, humming quietly to the fading birds. Below her, city lights flickered like scattered embers. Tonight she stopped at the overlook, the air cool and thin. A storm was rolling in, clouds flashing at their edges, silent lightning tracing the horizon. She radioed base. "Trail's clear!" Heading down, the wind lifted her hair, smelling of rain and pine sap. For a heartbeat, everything felt suspended. The calm before noise, the mountain holding its breath. She looked back at the empty path, smiled once and kept walking until the darkness took her flashlight's glow. Outro. Well, that was 33 reminders that common sense is still in short supply. If you made it this far without shaking your head, congratulations! You're officially smarter than everyone in this video. Hit that subscribe button before you try fixing a porch light, filming a sunrise, or testing harmless shortcuts. Because around here, curiosity doesn't always kill the cat. Sometimes it just goes viral. Stick around for the next batch of "What Were They Thinking?" moments. Until then, stay curious, but maybe a little less brave.